Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. This never comes out well on camera. I think I got the frame rate synced up on this, but it's the last one of these fans I've got. I built a bunch of these and then nobody really bought them, so they quit making them. Somebody like us, we come along and we purchase them later on down the line, so this is the last one of these fans I can lay my hands on. I've looked all over the inner boob. I'm sure there's some place out there, I just don't have the time to look for them anymore, but Ron, here is your 2-pill. And yes, that's the temperature. It's 64 degrees right now. Alright guys, let's get on with the show. Okay, so here we go. Amp number 2088. Still a 2-pill. This is an HD 2-pill. Of course, it's got my transformers in it. And you asked for a remote. I already had the remote in it by the time you asked me for it, brother. Now, what I wanted to tell you is I'm going to send you the programming cable for this fan. And you got to be like a ninja. You can take this little bent end. You see that? That's the way it comes. And down here on the top, you'll see right here on the little Everflow logo, you take and torque this down in there and click, you'll be able to slide it in there. You plug this into your USB port. You go to everflow.com and they make a little software patch that you can install on any computer, and plug this into your USB port. It'll auto-populate and you can program that to read anything you want. You can get it to change the pattern and flash and all that stuff. I'm going to send this cable along so you're not stuck with it always reading what it says on there now. So real simple, real basic, just 2-pill on a big heat sink, forced air flowed, forced air cooled. So let me run around the lap here real quick. 1000 watt slug in PEP, 1000 watt slug in average, 5 watt slug in reverse back member, 10,000 watt dummy load, RCI 2950 with a 5 watt slug sitting between the 2950 and of course our 2-pill. We're over here running on 13-14 volts at the moment, and with all that being said, naturally audioed, modulated, not with a 1000 hertz tone. Whopping whole 20 watts of input power. Whole 20 watts. That's your pass-through tune. Otherwise the tune of the RF coming from the radio, passing by the watt meter, coming down, going through the amplifier, through the relay, back out and around to the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. Okay. So now we're going to look at the input tune. We key the amp. Quarter watt. Output power. 111. BBI. BBI. Now this is with this little tiny bench radio driving it. Now PowerStroker, you've been here before. You know this song and dance. And you know that when you get this amp on your end, it's probably going to show a whole lot more on your watt meters because mine are tight. Like a virgin on prom night. So this your little 2-pill you asked me to get jabbled together for you. Now this is part 1. I'm going to put the tin on this, and we're going to slide this amp over here, and then I'm going to put your 16-pill up and we're going to hit your 16-pill with this 2-pill. So give me just a minute, we'll be right back. Here's something to be said about that point of view down at the component level. That's how I like to look at things. Okay, so Mr. PowerStroker, here we go, buddy. This is your 16-pill, and this has been here before. This showed up. This is an X-Force that I've repilled and reworked. and we took out all the PP100s and we replaced them with the HT2879 16-D08s. And well, you'd be hard pressed to see where we had the problem, because I fixed it. What happened is this outside transistor went down, and we talked about why, and you know why that quit. So I went ahead and I replaced this transistor. Well, actually I replaced both of these, this one and this one, but that's okay. You want to match them up in beta gain as close as you can. So I pulled both of them. The one that I pulled out of here was still, quote, good, but the beta gain on it was low. So I went ahead and I put a new one in there with it, and I'll hook you up on just the single transistor replacement. So with that being said, we're going to go over here and let's talk about the setup that we got going on. So I got your 2-pill hooked up, going through to a Bird 43 with a 50-watt slug and reverse to show us input reflect into the 16-pill. We got it hooked into the bench 1000 amp power supply, and we're currently floating at, we're not floating, we're sitting at 15.42. Now, we're metering our voltage from the inside of the amp for all fairness, okay? Now I don't have these connectors, so instead of me tearing the whole connector apart, I just went ahead and clamped this over. There's not quite enough metal mass there to like have a permanent connection, and this is not BBI approved, this is a temporary setup, but we're able to pass enough amperage to be able to run this. So the reason we're sitting at 15.4 is when we go, or yeah, 15.4 is when we go into operation, it's going to drop to about 14.5, otherwise regular automotive voltage. Okay, so let's turn the 16-pill off. We're going to talk through the box. Now, what we've got here is a 1000-watt slug in 5 times. So we're going to read that middle scale. We're going to add 2 zeros. So the 10's 1000, 20 is 2, 30 is 3, 40 is 4, 5 is 50 is 5. 1000-watt slug in average, 5-watt slug in reverse. Okay. No reflect here. No reflect here. See how that works? We're going to bring our 2-pill on. Pass through reflect. Input reflect on the 2-pill. Output power. About 400 to 500 watts. We're going to turn on the 16-pill. 1000-watt bird. And about 3200 peak. Remember, that's only getting hit with a 20-watt radio, so if you want, you hit that with like a Striker or a Connex, or we put a little 1-pill in there, maybe food for thought. This would probably peak upwards towards 4000, but we're doing about 3200 watts peak at the moment. Input tune. Output power. Now guys, right now as we speak, I've been fighting with the internet connectivity issues. So the service tech is here. She's going to be banging around in the house. So I'm going to shut this down. PowerStroke, we're obviously 100% fixed. I want to replace this resistor, that cap, this capacitor, this resistor, and this resistor. Hold on, I'm wrapping up. And this resistor. So let me go in and deal with that. The wife just stepped out and let me know I've got to shut down out here. So give me just a minute. We'll come back. We'll talk about the lid, put the tin on it, run it that way, and then we're going to work on your 3rd amp. So give me a second. I'll be right back. It was like 12:30 when I cut away at that last segment. Now, I got to tell you this. In the state of Idaho, in the city of Boise, I have a license to steal cars or impound a vehicle. This is not my full-time job. You guys all keep forgetting that. My boss calls me and asks me to go out and go do an impounded vehicle. This guy was parked in a fire lane blocking the entrance to an entire apartment complex. And so I show up and I get hooked on the car, and his family stepped out back to have a cigarette, and they seen that I was hooked onto his car to tow it away, and I was literally getting ready to drive off, and the whole family came out, right? And nobody spoke any English. They're all from the Middle East. I think I got called everything in the book today in a foreign language, and I have no idea what anybody called me or said to me. Wow. God, so much is going on. See, look at what time it is. 6 hours of my day. So I went and took care of that mess. Went and helped out another couple people. And then the rest of my day literally has been spent on the phone. So please forgive me if my train of thought is a little disconnected. Now I will say this, I just got off the phone with two of the coolest guys out of Georgia. They called me in a group conversation and they had a bunch of questions for me about the supercapacitor setup. I enjoy phone calls like that. We sat around, we talked for an hour and 10 minutes. And people that have dealt with me on the phone know I try to keep my conversations to about 5 minutes on average, 10 minutes at the most, just so I can get back out here to work on stuff. But the conversation I was having with those two gentlemen down there around Georgia, they're both in Albany, Georgia, was absolutely fun. It was nice, very receptive, cool guys. And I want to give you a shout out. Appreciate you guys. Had a lot of fun on that conversation. So yeah, so where were we? Okay, so this is a 16 pill that I had done. My buddy here, PowerStroker, he popped the antenna off his truck and didn't realize it had come off. He'd smacked it into some trees or something, and that's the reason why the pills went out. So we got it all up and running, and let's see, we're doing 3,200 watts, and then this is your new 2-pill. So yeah, I guess what I need to do now is put the lid on this, and we're going to throw the 2x4 up here that there was a problem with, that I've also gone through and replaced, and talk about it and test it, and then I can send this stuff off. So give me just a second, gentlemen. I'm going to put the lid on this thing, get it ready to go home, and then when I come back, we'll have a 2x4 up here on the bench, and we're going to test drive it, and then we're going to call it a night. So on that note, we'll be right back. Man, it's been a hell of a day. Hell of a day. I like these old school Magnaforces. This is oh, you guys can go back and watch the old video. I give a whole history of the Magnaforce line and how I got it started. And this is the one I had to go through and replace a lot of the wires in it because the remote had got burned up in it. A couple of things. Brother, what you done is you popped a pill. But I mean, you like... Whew, this thing was screaming when it went up. And that's the way we want to be running, right? Throw out the trash can. We want to be running and running good when shit blows up. You know, I've never had anybody call me, so man, I was just kicking it and it was loafing. I was only doing, you know, my 10,000 watt linear, I was only keying it at 1,000 and talking to 2,000 on it. I've never had anybody tell me that. I always tell me, man, I was sitting there talking on somebody, it went away, and I get it, and everything's all clever, fucking gasted on the inside, and yeah, push it to the limit. That's what we want, because that means we're transmitting. All right, so I went in here. Now, I used these 100 ohm resistors for about a hot minute, and they're a good resistor. They're a really, really good resistor. So when I went and I laid my hands on a bunch of the other ones that I normally use, I kept probably 100 of these left on the shelf. So if I ever had anything that I had built with these, I could replace them back. But this was your transistor that you popped. I replaced your output resistor, I replaced the flyback resistor, replaced the 10 ohm resistor, and changed out the transistor. That's it. So less talky, more show off here. I'm going to show you drive, input drive. Like I said, the conversation I just had with these two guys on the phone was really neat. They asked me a lot of questions because they didn't understand what they were seeing in the videos on a couple different things. At least one of the gentlemen did. And you know, he asked me a question, well, what should I dead key my so-and-so box at? And I told him, well, you want to dead key it at about 200 watts. He goes, well, I tried that and it blew up. I said, what do you mean it blew up? He goes, I shut the amplifier off and I put up 200 watts worth of drive in it and turned the amp back on and the thing blew up. So when somebody asks me that question, I assume what they are wanting to know is when I turn the amplifier on, where should I set my dead key? And what he was actually saying to me is how much drive should I dead key into my amplifier? Two separate things. How much drive, how much dead key. So what I'm showing you is I'm only putting like 20 watts of power in this thing. Now I can go and overload it and put a striker in it and it's not going to do any more power out. You can only put so much drive into the amp, right? So 20 watts of input power. Watch this. We're on 15 volts, by the way. When I key, it drops to 14.5. So that's a 1 watt dead key, but modulating to 20. Here's our average power, about 400 bird. And for this little anemic radio, that's exactly what you're going to see. Now look, I've said this in many videos. You've got the basic Joe Schmo radios up here, the 3 different power levels. You've got, you know, 20 watt, 30 watt, the 75 to 80 watt, and 125 watt radio. They're not hot rodded. They're not set up with big modulation kits, or you can't go and shoot one of these instructional videos and use a hopped up radio like this. Oh yeah, we're going to run the derail radio into this thing here in a minute. So let's keep those numbers in mind. Let's run our dead key up a little bit. So that's about a 2 watt carrier going into it. There's about 1.5 watts, maybe 1 watt. On a 1000 watt scale, you want a dead key right about there. About 200 watts. And so when somebody asks me, well, what should I key my box at? That's what I'm telling them. Just give yourself a low dead key, like this. And the needle will swing forward. In both fashions, the peak and the average. Now I can run that dead key way up, and we could dead key like 800 watts bird. When I modulate, it's going to do this. That's bad. That's the transistor having issues. I mean, you're still going to make the peak power, but your audio is going to be all bunched up on the other end too. You're going to sound like you got a cock in your mouth or something. So I'm just saying. Okay, so now we covered that. I really enjoyed that conversation. I don't know why. It was fun for me. Now we're going to talk about the derail radio. Now, variables all the way open on the front. The most useless thing ever in any amplifier next to the preamp is going to be this variable knob. And the reason I don't like it is because it's a built-in weak link. Alright, still at 15 volts. There's our derail radio. Now I'm going to show you what I'm putting into it for input drive. Same amount of drive, 20 watts. Put about 15 bird, right? Big difference. Yeah, that was 800 bird we just seen. So let's come over here. I'm gonna turn this down. I guess I'm going to actually have to use the variable on this. This squealing RF's getting into it. So I picked up 300 bird by going to a different radio. And that shouldn't be squealing like that. I can hear it. I can hear it squealing. Hear it? Back away from it. Turn the mic gain down a little bit more. Still squealing. Mic gain down even further. Still squealing. Point is, underneath modulation, a hopped up radio is like pouring gas on the situation. So if I was to use a derail radio like this on every single bench video, the average guy who's got himself something like this, he's gonna, oh, why didn't it do 800 bird for me? And then he's gonna get on Facebook and then bitch about it. And then all the haters are gonna jump on board because they don't actually participate in radio, they just sit on Facebook and talk smack. What I mean by participate in radio is actually talk on radio. I'd rather sit on Facebook and talk about them talking on the radio than talking on the radio. Makes no sense to me, but yeah, people do what they're gonna do. You're all fixed, brother. At the end of the day, the long end of the story, the final conclusion, is you got yourself a new 2-pill to drive your 16 to set it up just the way you want, and your 2x4 has been 100% repaired, back to work. 750 bird to 800 bird average, like 1200 watts peak with either that radio or that radio. That radio right there is showing you 400 bird. This radio here is showing you 750 to 800 watts, so with the same amount of peak power. guys draw your own conclusions. Oh yeah, and what I wanted to show you is that we're not actually cheating on a voltage here. Let me show you that real quick. Hello. 14.3 volts. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. And if you're watching this for the very first time, please just take 1 second, take your finger, go down over here, click subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell notification so you can see when I do a new video. Guys, I appreciate y'all. I really do. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's see, I got coming up in a couple weeks. I've got a full W2 IHY setup over here that I'm going to do a giant review of. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the bench, and we're going to talk about how it works and how it affects your audio and the abilities to use it in multi-radio applications, and how you can use it to do all kinds of different neat kind of things. That's the big thing that's coming up here in the next couple weeks. So on that note, I got to run. I've got other things I got to do, like go eat and maybe see my wife for the first time today. Yeah, and not talk on my phone. I'll see you guys. I'm off to the next one. Bump, bump. Later, bye.